After school, 11-year-old Linda O'Keefe headed home and disappeared without a trace. This case was considered one of the most mysterious in the state of California for many years, with unexpected turns. It took 45 years before the truth was finally revealed. In 2018, a strange post appeared on Twitter.
Hello, I'm Linda.
I'm 11 years old. I disappeared 45 years ago, and I want to know what happened to me. Sergeant Court DePevic of the Newport Beach Police Department posted a tweet that immediately caught the public's attention. This post marked the 45th anniversary of Linda O'Keefe's murder, a case that remained unsolved. Court decided to share the girl's story with everyone in hopes of drawing attention to the case and finding the perpetrator. As a result of a series of 68 tweets posted on behalf of Linda, millions of people worldwide learned details of her last day, ultimately leading to the capture of the killer 45 years later. Linda O'Keefe was an ordinary 11-year-old girl, gentle and sensitive. She grew up in a close-knit family where her father worked as an engineer and her mother as a seamstress at home. Linda had an older and a younger sister, and was known for her idealism and ability to see good in people. She nurtured her creative potential through drawing and playing the piano. Additionally, she was a Girl Scout participant and often spent time at summer camp. On that day, around noon, Linda called her mother from school and begged her to give her a ride home. The girl really didn't want to walk, even though it was only 2 kilometers to get home. Perhaps the child's heart sensed trouble. But her mother, unaware of anything tragic, was deaf to her daughter's complaints. She had a lot of work to do and didn't want to be distracted. The mother told Linda to go home by herself. Linda, upset and crying, eventually left the schoolyard. She stopped on the side of the road in front of the school before setting off. According to the plan, she should have made it home in just 30 minutes. But Linda didn't return after half an hour, or even 2. The mother was so engrossed in her work that she didn't notice her daughter had been missing for too long. Worry began to torture her, but she tried not to think of the worst, hoping that Linda had just gotten caught up with someone on the way. However, by 6 p.m., it became evident that they needed to start searching for her daughter. Today, thanks to mobile technology, you can locate someone even with their phone turned off. In 1973, Linda's parents had to rely on their car and a landline phone, with which her mother called all of her daughter's possible friends to find out where she might be. No one knew where Linda was. After the father learned of the situation, he quickly returned home, jumped in the car, and went in search of her. However, they were unsuccessful. After it got dark, the parents turned to the police for help. Search operations continued throughout the night, involving helicopters, dogs, and a large number of officers. But they were all unsuccessful. On the morning of July 7, 1973, local architect Ron Yeo and his son set out on a bicycle ride along the Back Bay Nature Trail. During the trip, they stopped to observe a unique view of frogs in the area and accidentally discovered the body of Linda O'Keefe. The girl was found in a water-filled ditch, dressed in a dress made by her mother and carrying a homemade book bag. According to experts, the cause of her death was strangulation. This incident caused a stir in the small peaceful coastal town, and an investigation immediately began. Detectives found tire tracks near where the girl was found, but no other evidence was found. Several people saw Linda on the day of the tragedy, her friend and neighbors who knew the O'Keefe family well. They told the police that they saw a turquoise van slow down and stop next to the girl. Linda was standing by the front passenger door, apparently talking to the driver, and then got into the car. The neighbors found this behavior strange but not dangerous, assuming that if the girl got into the van herself, it might have been someone she knew. After that, no one saw the schoolgirl alive. After questioning witnesses, the police were able to create a rough description of the driver: a white male aged 24 to 30 with light curly hair and a long face. But the witnesses did not remember the make or license plate of the vehicle. Flyers were distributed throughout California, but to no avail. Later, another witness was found who lived near the crime scene. She heard a scream and the phrase "stop, it hurts," and then the sounds abruptly stopped. Another unusual piece of evidence was the story of an artist who was in the park when the police arrived at the crime scene. He noticed a strange young man who was covertly watching the police from the bushes. Approaching him, the artist asked what was going on, and the young man reported finding the girl, even though they were far from the scene and could not see what was actually happening. This raised suspicion with the police. The description of the young man from the artist matched previous testimonies, aged 24 to 30, with white curly hair. The police had no doubt. He was the criminal. But even with a detailed description in hand, finding the man was not easy. 2 days later, a strange event occurred. 18-year-old Peter Wudon turned himself into the police and confessed to committing the crime. The boy lived near the O'Keefe family and was in the same class as Linda's older sister. After a lengthy interrogation, he was released 3 days later and all charges were dropped. From Peter's account, it was clear that he had made it all up, possibly to attract attention, as the information he provided was publicly known. The police concluded that the boy had slandered himself due to possible mental health issues. The investigation hit a dead end, and no additional measures yielded results. Gradually, the case faded away, but the police always remembered Linda. At the beginning of the investigation, a visionary forensic scientist collected biological material from Linda's body that was believed to belong to the suspect and preserved it. At that time, DNA analysis was not yet conducted. Only in 2001, 28 years later, the police sent the biological material to a laboratory for DNA extraction. It worked, however, there were no matches in the FBI database. This meant that the criminal either had no prior convictions or was arrested before the use of DNA analysis on suspects began. The technologies of the early 21st century could not do more. Thanks to advancements in genetic digital technologies, forensic science was able to take a step forward, providing the justice system with the opportunity to find Linda's killer, who operated almost half a century ago. In 2018, a police officer who reopened Linda O'Keefe's case reached out to the company Parabon Nanolabs, specializing in creating photographic images of people based on their genetic characteristics. The company's experts provided the police with 2 images of the suspect, what he looked like at 20 and at 60. Upon seeing the portraits, detectives were struck by the resemblance to the one compiled based on witnesses' descriptions 45 years ago. Now it was necessary to find this person. The police then made an unconventional decision. An officer from Newport Beach began posting messages on Twitter on behalf of Linda, sharing her experiences on the last day of her life. 68 posts that captivated readers. One of the messages included a photo of the suspect, obtained through DNA. The tweet with Linda's question about his name was viewed by over 7 million people. Despite public outrage, the results of the investigation did not come quickly. The police were determined not to give up. They decided to turn to specialists and ask them to create portraits of possible relatives of the suspect, using new technologies that were not as developed in the early 2000s. During the reinvestigation, a third cousin of the suspect was found, who helped experts find the main suspect thanks to his DNA, which he uploaded to the online genealogy database Family Tree in order to find his relatives. It was an amazing achievement. After 45 years, thanks to unique DNA analysis methods, the O'Keefe family finally learned who was responsible for Linda's death. The name of this person is James Neal. It is amazing that he had a lot of experience in crimes, starting from thefts and ending with assaults. Even more surprising was the fact that Neal almost always got away with minimal or suspended sentences. Prison hardly ever disrupted his life. He was married twice and had 3 children. When he met Linda, his first wife was pregnant. His house was just 60 kilometers away from the O'Keefe family home. However, just knowing the name of the criminal was not enough for the police. They could not rely solely on a private genetic database. Detectives needed to take a new DNA sample from Neal to obtain undeniable evidence of his involvement. They began to monitor him, collecting all the trash he left at the house, but all in vain. A stroke of luck helped. James Neal discarded a cigarette butt, which the police picked up, and the DNA analysis confirmed his involvement in Linda's abduction. Neal was arrested and charged, although he claimed he did not know what had happened. Nevertheless, the police gathered all the evidence against him. The trial was postponed due to the pandemic, and Neal did not live to see it, dying from lung cancer, of which he was not even aware. Unfortunately, Linda's parents passed away before the mystery of their daughter's death was solved. However, Linda's sisters expressed immense gratitude to the police. They said that until the very end of her life, their mother blamed herself for not picking up her daughter that day.